KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack!
Good morning, everybody. You know, it's a great morning, but it looks like it's going to be a little stormy out there for a little while. But, you know, the great thing here in the studio, it's going to be fun and exciting, let me tell you.
We got a great collection of expert guests this morning.
You know, every time I hear that announcement, I'm thinking, I need that guy. I just want him to follow me around.
Imagine Joe is at the home.
Yes, Joe is home and he's ready to watch TV.
I want to hear what we're going to say when you go to the restroom. Joe is going to the restroom.
He just sounds so happy and everything's so huge. It's just awesome. Joe is getting coffee.
Okay.
Rob is trying to talk.
What are we going to talk about today, Chris?
You know, we're actually having a great show on relocation. You know, the Houston market obviously is growing a lot. It's been growing for a long time. We have a lot of activity going on. And more importantly, it's exciting to see what's going on in the real estate market in regards to relocation services right now.
It's going like wildfire. Of course, you get in areas like Woodlands and Katy, which are predominantly oil-related companies moving into those areas. And I'm hearing that, you know, depending on which economist you talk to, we're poised in the next 12 months to get about anywhere from 90 to 120,000 new jobs. But again, depending on who you talk to. But you know what? That doesn't represent 120,000 people. That might be 3 people, 4 people for each job that shows up. So,
right, absolutely.
And they're all in front of me on I-10 in the morning, by the way.
Yes.
Which is really kind of tough. So who we have here today is from my company is Lynn BreedLove. Welcome to the show, Lynn.
Oh, good morning.
And we also have Steve Townsend, and he's with NEI Global Relocation. And I've not actually think we've had anyone from a relocation company. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to talk about what, you know, there's things that people face when they're relocating. It's traumatic. You know, you're relocating out of a company or an area or a country where you've maybe lived a long time, and all of a sudden you're uprooted because your company transfers you here, and wow, they've got to go through all this stuff. They got to find a home. They've got to find the great schools. They've got to, you know, they got to relearn everything and how they live. So, Lynn, tell me how that starts in that process. You know, what are they facing when you first get something?
Well, as you know, Rob, the move of a transferee is actually, the stress level is as high as second highest as far as when a person dies. I mean, it's very, very stressful. So in looking at that, we have to really narrow down and handpick people to work with these people. People that's either had the same experience and moved across country. They have to leave family, they have to leave friends, they have to leave elderly parents. So again, the stress levels is critical. And so we really try to focus on hand-selecting people who've either experienced this before or understand, have the empathy, compassion, and caring.
And Steve, you actually are the ones that actually work with the companies before they get to Lynn. And talk about that. When you go in and talk with them, what are you talking with them about that you're going to do to help their people move into Houston?
Right. Well, thank you, Rob. A relocation management company like NEI, our goal is to solve problems. It's to solve problems for the company, and it's to solve problems for the employee. As Lynn said, it's one of the most stressful events, life events, that any family is going to go through. So what we try to do is we step in and we work with the company to manage that entire process for them. But more importantly, we work as a single point of contact for that employee. So that employee has a guide that goes from the very beginning all the way through until they're settled into their new location and productive at their new job.
Can I ask,
Yes, you can ask a question, actually. It's okay.
Yes. Can
He's
I
the
jump
boss,
in,
right?
please? So I've never moved to another city. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have to when I was 15, but, you know, so I just rode in the car. But would a person that is relocating for a job if I got transferred to Dallas or wherever, would I contact a company like yours to coordinate everything? Help me out with that thought.
Yeah, you bet. Typically what happens is we'll contract with the employer. And so the employer has a relocation policy set up, and they'll direct you to contact the relocation company. So we're the ones that go in, and it's an outsourced solution for our clients, so that literally we take all of those tasks off of their plate. We manage it for them, feed them all of the information back. But it's the HR group that typically manages that process for the individual employee.
And Steve, tell me what you do before you hand it off to Lynn. Tell me what you do for that client. Then you say, you know what, I've got you this awesome relocation director. Talk about that process.
Sure. When we first contact a family, and we really work with the entire family, we'll contact them. We'll find out. We'll do what's called a needs assessment, and we really want to find out what's going on with that family's life and what's important to them. So we'll do a full analysis of where they are, what they need, whether it's going to be elder care, whether it's special needs for their kids, whether it's sports, whatever it may be. So we'll know exactly what they are, and then we feed that specific information to our great partners like Lynn, and she's the one that manages, and she's got experts in this area to make sure that they put them in the right place.
It's a great segue to go over and ask Lynn some questions. When they come to you, you've got a pretty good idea what their needs are. What are the challenges that are facing them? I mean, as far as finding a place. Let's say you do a lot of stuff up in the woodland, in spring, the cypress, and those areas. What's the number one thing they're needing from us?
Mainly, it really drills down, Rob, to listening skills. Many times our needs analysis discussion, Steve is a warm handoff. Their company, NEI, hands it to us, and they've already talked to them and all that. Then once we get the transferee, we could have a needs analysis telephone call for 10 minutes or up to an hour. It depends. And so you've got to really be a good listener and listen to the issues and the problems. You know, if I drill down right now in the market today, and the biggest issue that we're having, it would be the transferees thinking that our agents are being pushy. And the reason they think they're being pushy is because they are saying, you know, our agents saying, if you like this house, you need to either come in at full price and or above price. And otherwise, you will lose the listing. So I'll get the call from NEI, and they'll say, what's going on with your agent? They're too pushy. Well, the agents are being realistic. That is exactly where our market is today, and we have to explain that to them over and over again.
And especially in the markets that I was talking about, the Katy in the Woodlands areas, you may have a new listing, and you may have 6 offers on it that day. Mm-hmm. And so it does sound like we're as agents are being very pushy, but it's a reality, and they are paying over list price.
I have to say that we had one listing come on the market in the Heights, so it's all over the city, and we ended up having the very first weekend 27 offers. That
was Stephen Hallmark.
Yes,
so
it
he's
was
one of our
Stephen
past
Hallmark.
guests,
and
yes,
he's a great agent too.
No, and you're right, though. You know, one of the things that you guys be mentioning, Lynn, is, you know, a lot of times these individuals are coming in, they're coming in from abroad, and they don't understand, you know, there's a culture shock to begin with. You know, so number one, you have to deal with the culture shock associated with individuals coming in from different parts of the world, right? And then also remember, real estate right now in Texas is completely, in the United States, is different than abroad to begin with. Then you compound that with the fact that the real estate market in Houston is the hottest it's ever been, you know, in reference to multiple offers, bidding over price, lack of inventory in some key areas such as Katy and some areas right there. I mean, even some of the $1 million homes are getting multiple offers, hundreds of $1,000s over offer price.
Absolutely.
Compound all that, and then it sort of makes for that complaint that you said, that a lot of times foreigners will come in and say, you know, why are they being so pushy? Why is it this? Why is it that? And that's one of the things you mentioned. I think education, that's part of what the show is about as well, is educating them about what the market is currently doing. You know, I work with a lot of the relocation side of things, and I see it on the financing side. You know, at the same time, they're like, you know, I was told to give you a call because I just have to have a piece of paper in hand. They don't understand why sometimes, though. And so you're right. I think it's always important for us to continue to understand is, you know, I was a product from my family. We moved about 15 times whenever I was a child. And so, you know, and I always knew the stress level my mom and my dad were going through, and was always abroad. We were always expats, so we were always, you know, throughout Latin America somewhere. So I definitely understand and relate to what they're going through. And you're right, that stress level can be extremely high, especially when you start putting little ones in the mix. You know, a lot of times they come in, they've got children, they're trying to find out what's going on with education, where they're going to put them. They got to buy a new car. They got to do, find out what new friends. And then you got to satisfy the fact that, the children are the ultimate ones that have to be happy as well. And mom, as my dad used to always say, to make sure that, dad can go away and work, or mom in this case.
Well, let me ask you this, and Steve or Lynn, either one of you can talk about this. The number one question that they typically ask when they first find out they're going to be relocated, what is that number one question?
Well,
schools. If they have children, the number one question would be schools, school information.
So, and is that something that you find to be true also, Steve?
Well, when we get the first question, it's like, can I afford to move? Help me figure out, can I afford to move? There's been such a change in the real estate market across the country in different markets. They need to be able to analyze, can I afford to do this?
I believe there's a website you can actually go to and analyze whether or not what you have to make more or less to move into certain markets. And unfortunately, I don't recall what it is, but Houston is absolutely the least expensive major city in the U.S. for housing. So I think that probably makes them feel a little bit better. So I get people from California, and they're going, I can get that for this. If it's like for $500,000 here, they can get a McMansion. Yeah. $500,000 right there is 2-bedroom, 1 bath. So it's for them. It's the culture shock isn't as severe. So, Lynn, tell me what you do once you've kind of gotten this. You've had the warm handoff from Steve, and then you've got them. You've done your needs analysis. What's the next step from that?
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit, Rob.
You can do that.
What you do first in starting the relocation department is that you've got to hand select agents who are qualified. And there are certain qualifications they have to have.
Well, let's talk about that. What's the qualifications?
Well, at least 3 years in the business, at least a $3 million producer consecutively for those 3 years. Shows that they've been in the business, they're serious about the business. But more importantly, that they are empathetic, they have compassion, they are good listeners, good negotiators, all of the adjectives that you can think of that you need.
And patient.
Patient, yes. Patient's probably number one. And so once the selection process has taken place, then they have to go through some training. Obviously, they're going to go through training with me, which is twice a year. And they also then have to have an online certification.
And she's like a drill sergeant, too, trust me. Yeah. You will do this.
Well,
I
have been called that, yes. However, and I have to say, without a doubt, I appreciate our agents 100%. They go above and beyond. They are the best relocation team I've ever worked with.
Yeah, well,
hey, Rob, just to mention, I found the cost of living calculator to compare between cities, posted on the Real Estate Rat Pack Facebook page.
Well,
shameless plug for our page there.
There's nothing shameless about that. There's nothing about that.
It's a useful tool.
Yeah, it is a useful tool. So you can go, so they can find it. What is the URL on that?
It's on CNN Money page.
Okay.
I just posted the link on our Real Estate Rat Pack page, so they can go there.
Because we
Facebook.
do have listeners from other parts of the country listening to us. We're finding out, and we got
absolutely.
We have a fan in Dallas. I know
at least one,
and they may want to relocate to Houston. So, Steve, talk about the relationship that you have with Lynn and other directors like her. How do you establish those relationships?
Well, one of the most critical things that we've got to do is when we select our service partners across the country. We come to a place like Houston, and they represent our company when they're acting on our behalf. So the kind of performance that Lynn is able to derive from her team is crucial for our success.
Well, and Lynn's known in this city as the Relo Queen, and we're proud to have her at Prudential Anderson Properties. I promise you.
So let me see. We have the Relo Queen and the Godfather of Real Estate in the studio at the same time.
In one company.
One company. That is amazing.
How does that happen? Shameless plug for Prudential Anderson Properties.
Thanks to Mike Huff.
Absolutely. Well, it's always fun, but, man, 15 minutes goes by really fast. We are up against a break right now, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Like me, you can bet as sure as you live. Something's gotta give, something's